So I'm going to walk you through how to use the 10 ornament embossing kit. And your kit comes with an embossing tool which looks like a pen. It has a pointy end and a flat end. It comes with an awl that you're going to use for punching so that you can string up your ornaments and of course the string. And I also included 10 sheets of foil. So you got enough to make 7 of each of the 7 designed templates, and you also have a couple extra. They're just to make extra ornaments if you like, or if you feel like you made some mistakes on one of them that you just don't like the ornament, how it turned out. It's no big deal. You still just have some extras. And one extra silver sheet is also meant to be your test sheet. So first you're going to take your felt pad. This creates some cushion underneath your foil so that you get some dimension in your embossing. So take your silver test sheet and familiarize yourself with how to use your embossing tool and making marks on the foil. Test out one of the templates, tracing over it. You can test out your mark making. One of the things that I want you to try out here in this step is your embellishments and how you kind of create some texture and your own personal style of mark making. That's really going to make your ornaments more interesting and personal and look like something only you can make. And now is a good time to test out your scissors. Find a pair that you like, something nice and sharp. I like small craft scissors, but just find whatever works to cut through the foil and cut kind of intricate shapes so that you feel like once you are actually cutting out your template, you're going to be able to get a pretty accurate cut. So once you feel like you've worked out the kinks, let's go ahead and get started with your embossing. I have included a cellophane sleeve to put your template inside of. This makes it a little bit easier to run the embossing tool over top of your template outlines. So turn your template over and take your foil sheet, whatever color you want to use for the specific design that you've chosen, and you can kind of see through the back of the sheet. Place your foil over top of the design so that it's perfectly centered, and then tape it on so that as you're embossing, it doesn't move around. The felt pad's going to need to go underneath both of your foil sheet and your template sheet. So make sure that if you're using a colored sheet like the gold tone or the copper tone, that you plan ahead which side of the sheet that you want to place up facing you. So as you're pressing down in your embossing, it's going to press a depressed embossing design. So if you want it a reverse so that it's a raised design, then flip it the other way. So once you finish tracing your outline from your template, go ahead and remove it from the back of your template, take the tape off, and it's time to do the final details, the embellishments that kind of make it kind of charming and personal in my opinion. So I like to do a lot of stippling and sort of hash marks on mine. I find that it adds some texture. In this case, the hash marks on the bow almost look a little bit like shadow. So again, just play around with it and have some fun. This is really kind of the best part of the whole embossing process, in my opinion, is adding all of those little details. So one thing you're going to notice about this foil material is that it bends really easily, and that's fine. You can always correct it out. Like I'm doing here, I'm just kind of smoothing it out with my fingers, but the texture and the bending and the irregularities are part of what makes it an interesting surface, part of what reflects the light. It's not a problem. Don't stress over it if it bends a little bit. So once you've gotten it the way you like it, it's time to punch your holes so that you can string it up. So get a piece of thick cardboard, nice and thick so that it protects your surface and gives your awl a little bit of punching room, extra punching room. And you will want to give a few millimeters of space between the edge of your foil and where you want your hole to be to create your punch so that it's just a little bit more stable and you don't accidentally rip a hole in your design. So your awl has a tapered end so that if you do a light punch, it's going to be a very small hole, and if you push down further and further on that tapered end, it's going to make a larger and larger hole depending on the type of string or ribbon that you want to feed through that hole. And my favorite way to string these types of ornaments is using a girth knot, which you can see here. One of the things I love about these ornaments is that you can use them for multiple purposes. So here I'm using it as kind of a gift tag. You add it on to a gift. You can hang it on your tree, and you could turn it into a piece of wall art. So in this instance, I've taken the swan design and the bow design and decided to hang them together and make them sort of like a two-piece wall ornament. You can also turn these into a cute little holiday garland. In this case, I decided to just use some tape. That's another idea, is to just use tape on the backs of these and how you hang them so that they're not so permanent. If you decide they're a garland one day, they can always become an ornament the next day, or a gift tag, a last minute gift tag the next. So get creative with it and have fun. And I would love to see your creations, and I would love to see your ideas of what you've decided to do with your ornaments.